All right, welcome in, everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are going to unpack something truly mind-bending. When we think about modern psychology, right, things like cognitive behavioral therapy or rigorous scientific peer review, we naturally assume these are strictly modern inventions, concepts born in university laboratories over the last 100 years or so. But what if I told you that one of the most sophisticated, empirically driven psychological manuals ever created wasn't written in the 20th century, but actually over 2 millennia ago? So, is it possible the ultimate manual for modern psychology was written thousands of years ago? Usually, we look at ancient Buddhist scriptures as these purely mystical religious stories, filled with untouchable dogma. But today, in this explainer, we are going to completely reframe that. We're going to look at these texts not as mythology, but as highly sophisticated empirical systems perfectly designed to deconstruct the human mind. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our mental roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the scientific scripture of mind, then break down its 5-step structure. After that, we'll look at epistemology and mental auditing, explore emptiness and karmic dynamics, map out our emotions, and finally, look at how this acts as a contemporary manual for humanity today. Let's get to it. Starting off with Section 1, the scientific scripture of mind. So our focus today is a collection of texts known as the Uparipannasaka. These are the final 52 teachings in the Majjhima Nikāya. And this represents a massive paradigm shift. It moves completely away from simple storytelling and parables, and instead systematically maps out the actual mechanics of the mind. Honestly, it's no wonder academics frequently praise this as the absolute crown jewel of Buddhist philosophy. This scripture lays down the profound foundation for the highly complex Buddhist psychology known as the Abhidhamma. It doesn't just, talk about morality, it dives headfirst into epistemology, which is how we actually know what we know, along with ontology and some seriously advanced psychology. Moving on to Section 2, the 5-step structure. Now, you might be wondering how this is all organized. Well, a scripture this complex isn't just a random assortment of ancient teachings thrown together. It possesses what scholars call an architecture of the intellect. It's this brilliant step-by-step journey organized into 5 main sections, or vagas, that act as a sequentially unlocking curriculum. It's like a giant puzzle. Step 1, the Devadaha Vaga, starts by doing the heavy demolition work, dismantling false views and determinism. Then, Step 2 moves into microscopic mental analysis. Step 3 elevates the mind to really grasp the concept of emptiness. Step 4 systematically categorizes the laws of cause and effect. And finally, Step 5 dissects exactly how we process emotions through our senses. It is just an incredibly logical progression toward mental liberation. Which brings us to Section 3, epistemology and mental auditing. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the text approaches mental auditing through the Anupada Sutta. This fundamentally challenges how most people view meditation today. I mean, if you ask someone on the street what meditation is, they'll probably say it's about blanking your mind entirely, or floating in some unanalyzable, spacey trance. But the Uparipannasaka presents a totally different reality. It documents a senior monk, Sariputta, entering the highest states of deep meditation, the jhanas. But here's the catch. His mind isn't blank at all. Actually, it's an intensely active state of empirical observation. He is consciously watching the continuous arising and passing away of mental states in super high resolution. It totally relies on empirical evidence that can be internally observed, not just mystical blindness. And get this, they didn't just take someone's word for it if they claimed to have reached ultimate enlightenment. No way. They had a rigorous system for that too. The Chabisodana Sutta introduces what is essentially a spiritual audit. If someone claimed to be an arahant, an enlightened being, they literally had to pass a strict verification process. They had to analyze their understanding of the 5 mental and physical aggregates and the 6 elements of perception. It is remarkably similar to the grueling academic peer reviews we rely on in modern science today. It's really fascinating. All right, let's look at Section 4, emptiness and karmic dynamics. This section clarifies 2 of the most deeply misunderstood concepts in all of Eastern philosophy. Let's start with emptiness, or suññatā in Pali. This is so frequently mistranslated in the West as nihilism. People think it means life is totally meaningless and everything is just nothingness. But suññatā is completely different. It's an active, ongoing process of relinquishing our exhausting attachment to forms, sounds, and thoughts. The text points out that even the highest, most euphoric meditative states are still constructed, and they are impermanent. So it's about a profound letting go, not some depressing rejection of existence.
Then, of course, we have karma. The Mahakamavibhanga Sutta frames karma not as some simplistic cosmic vending machine where you put in a good deed and get a reward, but as a dynamic karma. It's a highly complex, non-linear system. Outcomes are determined by a complex calculus of your past actions, current new actions, and crucially, your precise mental state right before death. It's a logical framework that explains the deep inequalities and contradictions we see in human society. And the best part is, it does so without ever needing to rely on supernatural magic or a grand architect.
And embedded right in these teachings on emptiness is a brilliant piece of sociological critique. The Suññatā Sutta offers a really sharp warning about our social habits. It basically argues that over-socializing and constantly lingering in crowds inevitably destroys our inner peace. It causes us to lose what the text calls paviveka, which is our essential internal solitude. Think about it. When you are constantly reacting to the crowd around you, you lose the bandwidth needed to do that vital internal mental auditing we were just talking about.
Next up is Section 5, Emotion Map and Manual.
If you've ever studied modern cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, you are going to absolutely love this ancient equivalent found in the Salayatana Vagga. The text breaks down our perception into 6 sense spaces, so our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and our mind, and how they interact with external objects. From those collisions, 18 distinct emotional characteristics arise, and they're categorized into happiness, suffering, and neutral equanimity. The whole goal of this map is to catch the emotion at the very point of contact, way before it spirals into deep craving and ultimately suffering. It's all about breaking the circuit early. It's a real game changer. Now, reading 2,500-year-old philosophical texts can obviously be incredibly dense. Fortunately, we aren't left to figure it out all alone. Scholars always point to a crucial companion text called the Papankasu. This was written centuries later by the great commentator Buddhaghosa, and it acts as the ultimate user manual that breathes actual, practical life into the raw scripture. So, the Papankasu really provides the missing puzzle pieces. It offers precise definitions for all that heavy philosophical jargon, translates abstract ideas into step-by-step meditation techniques, and provides the necessary cultural context and etiquette of the Buddhist era. Without this commentary acting as a bridge, practically applying these high-level formulas to our daily lives would be nearly impossible. It quite literally turns abstract philosophy into actionable psychology. And that leads us to our final part, Section 6, Contemporary Manual of Humanity. Which brings us to the most important question. Why does this ancient text actually matter to your life right now? Well, because while the world around us has completely changed, the human mind hasn't. The Uparipannasaka is not just dusty religious literature. It is a universal empirical survival guide that is uniquely equipped to address our modern mental health crisis. In an era where we are constantly bombarded by stress, societal confusion, and severe emotional turbulence, this ancient science provides a perfectly structured, timeless method to regain control of your own consciousness. I want to leave you with this thought to reflect on today. Look at your own life, especially in our current age of endless scrolling, notifications, and constant digital distraction. Have you lost your own pavishika? Have you sacrificed your inner solitude to the sheer noise of the crowd? You know, perhaps the greatest psychological tool you can adopt today is simply deciding it is finally time to sit down, disconnect, and run a rigorous audit on your own mind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I'll see you next time.